let's start from where we are now in 2020 and look ahead. Like I said, we have a lot of uncertainty. So anytime you look at these curves of the future, you're going to see a range of them. They'll be from super conservative to which would say we're going to stop using fossil fuels right now, as is the rest of the world, and everything is going to be just great. Well, not that great, because we still have sea level rise that's going to happen because the oceans have absorbed so much heat that they're still expanding. Ice is still melting. We could shut off everything right now, and that's not going to solve the problem. Then on the far end of this, up top, is the extreme case where it's like everything we could possibly do wrong, we do wrong. And that, it's not even on this chart, I didn't include it, but by 2100, that's up at about 10 feet higher than where we are now. Not good. But what I did, I kind of made the green and the gold lines a little more bold, and I did that on purpose, because if we go back to, let's say 2020, sorry, if we go back to 2000 and look at what the forecasts were for 2020, these two are about the most accurate. So that, as of now, they are the best fit. So I would say let's focus on those and then see the others as kind of the less likely wings. Not impossible, just not as likely. We certainly hope we're not going to be on the really high end, and if we hope that we're going to be at the low end, we might not be real happy. So I think it's a safe thing to look kind of in the middle and see where that gets us. So by 2100, that's another 3 or 4 feet of sea level rise on top of where we are right now. So that's 3 or 4 feet on top of every tide we see right now. And that's without hurricanes, that's without anything, that's just where the ocean sits. That's a big, big number for here because there's lots of places that are 3 or 4 feet above sea level now. So let's take a look at what that would look like. Here's a rough look at the areas that have issues during the highest tides right now. So when I was showing that chart of, okay, now we've got some of these highest tides that are starting to produce pretty significant marks. This is about what it looks like. The areas in blue would be areas that flood during the highest tides. Green would be low-lying, not directly connected to the bay or the ocean, but water could come up through the drains and flood those areas in green. So basically, let's consider anything in blue or green is basically where we are now of what floods during the highest tides. That already is not that great of a picture. But if we go another 4 feet, and like I showed back here, that's kind of right in the midst of things. I picked the green and the gold line, which is a 3 to 5 foot range. Okay, well, here we are at plus 4 feet. That is not a good picture. So that is basically all of Miami Beach. Most of the islands between Miami Beach and Miami, the Miami River, it's not a great picture. So,
Brian, help paint this picture for me and some of our viewers. We're talking about king tide. We're not talking about the mean sea level.
Right.
We're talking about the worst case.
Yeah.
And so we're saying 2100. And so again, this is based on that average projection, or this is based on which one of those lines?
Yeah, this is based on basically right between the green and the gold. So I picked the 4 feet.
Most realistic.
Yeah.
And so let's go back to this one, and let's try to like look at it from the eyes of somebody that lives on let's say the Venetian Islands.
Sure.
San Marino or one of those. So they're going to experience this. And so we're talking about 4 feet. I mean, we're talking about water high enough to basically cover that whole first floor.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm thinking, what does this mean in terms of the damage? That means that they're changing out drywall. That means that probably, you know, the carpets are gone. Maybe a lot of furniture has to be replaced.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a lot of years between the left and the right here, and it's just going to will fade from one end to the other. It's not like all of a sudden this is an issue that people are going to be faced with.
Right.
If they experience this high tide flooding, say 6 days a year right now, in another 20 years, that's going to be some higher number. And in another 20 years after that, a higher number still. So you'll gradually just ease into this. And in the meantime, some people are just going to decide to move. You know, they might still love Southeast Florida and just move somewhere that's not as low-lying. But these areas, you know, we have on Miami Beach, we have the pumps, that big pump project, which is enormously expensive. Most places can't afford that. That will reach its limit of what that can do. I mean, that can't keep things dry forever. Some parts of Miami Beach and Miami, you know, have raised roads, which again, that's quite expensive and not an obvious answer of, okay, so you raise the roads, but then what about all the property around it? You know, that's a real problem that people have experienced.
Right.